Welcome to Digitized Spotlight, your lens into the best builders in consumer crypto. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Winnie. On this series, we explore some of the latest trends emerging in consumer crypto and chat with those building at the forefront. On this episode, we dive into how health and wellness is coming on chain.
With River, aka Nix, co-founder of Pulse, the open health network starting with wearables.
Hey.
Hi, River.
Hey guys, how's everyone?
Good. It's a great day to be doing this. I feel like I was looking at my wearables and I actually got data that's been a year from it. And I was thinking about how I can take this data and send it to my doctor's office today. So it's like actually a great time to be talking about kind of what you're building with Pulse.
Awesome. Looking forward to it, guys.
So yeah, since we at Collab invested in Pulse under a year ago, you've had over 1 million in sales of your health wearable, and you built a strong longevity community and brand around it. So would love to dig in.
Yeah, happy to start from the top. So what we're building is an open health network. Now, what that means in practice is, we're focusing on allowing you to own your own health data and utilize it in any way you want, whether it's commercializing it or taking it and sharing it with other third parties to build new applications on top of. We kind of see health as this next funnel or next primitive alongside of where DeFi and finance kind of started. So the same way you can carry your Bitcoin on a ledger, our vision is you should be able to carry your health data on a wearable and take it anywhere you want. And that's not just the wearable data, but also blood, DNA, glucose, medical records, etc. We want to make it composable and interoperable.
Love it. Yeah, I feel like there's a rise of these trackers and glucose trackers to kind of things tracking obviously your wearable and health fitness areas. Let's take a step back. Obviously last cycle, we saw the rise of STEPN and the whole move to earn movement and sweat coin. And that inspired a lot of X to earn. How are you thinking about it differently? I know you just started shipping and you wanted to go the wearable route with the Series 1 devices. Maybe kind of take us back to kind of the thinking with why wearables to begin with, the product feature set, and kind of how it differentiates itself from existing wearables, and also what people are either scarred from last cycle when they think about, where on-chain health and wellness. Take us there.
Yeah, we thought a lot around the earn component because crypto as an ethos. A lot of us, came in initially around, I want to own my own assets. And now that's evolved over the years with not just with STEPN, but also with Axie Infinity, airdrop farming, etc., where the earn component has become so important. Now, we looked at it as, okay, anytime the earn component was front row and center in terms of product vision, community kind of communication, it's not worked out for the community. It's not worked out for any of the holders that are involved. So whilst it's very important, our focus is very much around, okay, what does an open health network need from a value perspective to you? Now, obviously in a subset of group in crypto, it's, I just need to earn. I just want money. That's it. Now, it'd be really easy for us to just focus on that. And a lot of other teams have. My view is, those teams probably going to struggle to fulfill that vision. And already we've seen some of them have been struggling. We're focused very much around just, okay, let's just unlock the value. So can I give you a wearable device that helps you get healthier? And you can integrate it with blood, DNA, etc. And that allows you to have a better understanding about your own body. And that allows you to make better decisions around how you take care of yourself. That's the focus. Everything else will happen by the by. But as soon as you flip it around and make the earn component the focus on communication, product, vision, it creates a very perverse incentive that doesn't work out. So that's, it's tricky. In our Discord, a lot of the questions around when earn, when airdrop, when this, when that, and I always tell people.
A blessing and a curse for a lot of things in this space because there's that perverse incentive.
Yeah.
What is the liner for why someone should use a Pulse device versus why should I turn from my Oura? Why should I turn from my Whoop or
ownership really important. So when you use Oura, Whoop, etc., you don't own your health data. So your sleep data isn't being written through your device. So as soon as you move from Whoop to another brand, you've lost all of that health data. Now, there was actually a community member which asked about this earlier in the week. Why should I switch? And I told them, like, if you don't understand the value of ownership around what it means for you in terms of, the next 5 to 10 years around you utilizing your data, I don't have time to explain it to you. Like that was the kind of angle around it. But it could, like, to give you some examples, being locked in with Whoop. Let's just say you want to move somewhere else and you move to a third party brand. Maybe you move to an Oura a year later, then you move again a year later, 2 years later, because that happens. You've lost all that continuation. And it might be that the latest medicine requires you to give it 5 years of your health data. And because you've changed devices, you've changed firmware, how each of them calculate your health score, et cetera, is also very, very different as well. So you don't have that continuity from your data as a result. And that's when you're going to realize it's a problem. It might not be today, but over time, that's going to become more prevalent. So that's why you should own your own data, because it allows you to have control over it and it allows you to do whatever you want with it. So, for example, another example we have is internally, I use Claude to look at my health data. It's integrated with my Google Calendar, all my meetings, etc. But also wearables that I use. Now, I spent a lot of time making that work on my own myself, but I found it very interesting where I'm using MCP now to basically understand, hey, the days I'm having meetings in the evening are the days I sleep worse. I didn't realize that, Claude figured that out, found that pattern for me. And I could only do that was because I hooked the API up to Claude. That's the type of ownership and impact and kind of like, self-use you can have when you own that data.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I actually download some of my Oura data and put it into Cloud in the same way.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, like, with kind of what you're building, users are able to download and take their existing device data and port it over to your new kind of have an overall view.
Yeah, Aura gives you summaries. We give you the raw output. So there's it's not just the overall kind of score. It's the REM, deep, recovery heart rate by the minute or by the second, depending on how much you want to frequency it. So it's more granular to allow you to have better insights regarding your body. So that's the main difference. And also, ours is you don't need to download. The API is there. You as a user, you're the owner. You can do what you want with it.
And have you found that the data ownership piece is like what's attracting these early buyers? Are they mostly from Web 2 or Web 3? Yeah, I guess would love to just dig a bit more into like who you're attracting to buy the product and what the building has been like.
Yeah, so we started segmenting our users and started having very active discussions with each kind of segment. We started to notice a pattern. So the more kind of like tech friendly users, whether it's founders or founding engineers, etc., they care more about the data ownership piece and being able to manipulate their data by combining it with other data sets that they may have. And then the crypto kind of angle, it's more around I want the earn piece more so. And then we do have just the the normie angle, which is very much I want to get healthier and I don't want to pay a subscription for a wearable device. I want to buy it once and then just own my data for good. So they're the three buckets in terms of each kind of a user or customer base's kind of outcomes. And I'm paying attention most to the first and the last, just because it's a sustainable way of growing. It's also how we get ahead of the market where Whoop, Aura, etc., don't offer these type of services. They're subscription based. There's no API that you can use to kind of build data on top of.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and awesome to hear. Like we're moving in a more sustainable direction from the STEPN days. I guess like for the users that have gotten these Series 1 devices that are shipping so far, like what's been the response? Are they mostly in one of these demographics?
Yeah, it's been really eye-opening. So we've shipped, as of today, recording this, we've shipped 200 devices. There's another 5,800 on the way. So it's been quite eye-opening just having 200 live users test the product, give us feedback, all around the build, the straps, and the data that they're seeing as well, which has been really helpful. Crypto users so far, some have previous wearables, some haven't. So it's been interesting to see the difference in feedback around, a former Whoop owner or a former Aura owner versus someone that just never owned one and it's their first kind of device. Um, Generally, what we've been really happy with is whilst crypto has focused more on the earn component, they do care about the health part, and it's a case of okay, I want both, as opposed to some other protocols that where maybe it's just purely the earn kind of component alone. Um, yeah, generally the what else has been interesting is around features. So people originally didn't care about the sleep; they cared more about the activity leading up to the launch. But actually, the most used feature that we're seeing is sleep. That's one that gets the most amount of views throughout the day. People talk about it the most on Discord as well. It's the most surprising just because a lot of people haven't been tracking their sleep. So seeing that data for the first time makes them think twice around, okay, how should they improve their overall well-being versus activity. It's a little bit easier around, oh, my 10,000 steps, or I went to the gym. This is what my heart rate was like. So it's been interesting seeing that journey with our existing community.
One thing I was going to ask a little bit about is like you mentioned the data is quite important, right? Would love to kind of dive deeper into like what exactly is valuable out of it. Maybe you can talk through non-crypto, but other types of wearable
Yeah.
tracker, like even the 23andMe's of the world. Where has this data traditionally been super valuable for, and kind of how you guys think about either monetizing it or, yeah, how do you guys think about,
Yeah.
at scale, how this will work?
Yeah. So each data set's valuable on its own. So already a lot of the wearable brands commercialize their data, selling it for research purposes. Similarly with DNA, similarly with blood. Where it's really exciting is when you start combining that data set into a multimodal data set. So taking blood, wearable, DNA of one user and exposing that as a single unified API. From a sales, from not a sales percent, but from a commercial perspective, there's a lot more you can do with that, whether it's to build new products, whether it's like for drug discovery, whether it's for kind of commercial research purposes as well. So that's where it gets most exciting, and there isn't that composable health data layer on the market at the moment. That's what we're building. So the wearable is really step one as part of this journey around making this kind of multimodal data set. So that's, towards the end there, you'll hear some new announcements from us.
Why don't you think this has been done effectively in the past before?
Mhm. So how it's done at the moment is just probabilistically kind of overlapping different data sets and saying, okay, there's a high confidence score around this is that user. And the reason it's not been aggregated in the past before is around permission and provenance. So a data broker will get permission to buy a 35-year-old wearable data en masse aggregate. So they won't know who it is, but they'll know it's a 35-year-old living in the Manhattan area. And then they'll purchase DNA, and they'll purchase DNA of a 35-year-old, again, living in the Manhattan area. There's a little bit of probabilistic determination. They may have certain confidence score around, okay, it's a 60% chance it might be this person. But then the reason why they haven't been able to combine it and know like for like is because we don't share our data permission for all of those data sets at once. So anytime we do share it, it's always an aggregate. So the company will always have to aggregate it. So our 23andMe data, for example, people always worry that that's exposed. Now, whilst our DNA is unique, they're not commercializing it by saying it's Winnie or Amanda's data. They're just saying it's X female, this area generically. And it's a lot of countries, at least in the US under HIPAA, it's illegal for a data broker, an advertiser to try and overlap it and know it's exactly Winnie as well. So those are the kind of issues because they don't have your permission. Whereas how we see it is, well, maybe you do want to give them permission. And in return, you are getting compensated for that as a result. And it may not be it's Winnie's data, but at least it's, exactly 35-year-old person. It's that person's, 100% their DNA, blood, and wearable data. So an advertiser or a new kind of, a pharmaceutical company that wants to build a new drug has a very high confidence level that is you. So that's really exciting commercially. It's just really challenging because you don't getting that permission. With us, the permission layer is kind of built into the network. So it's like by default, we are more, in a weird way, we're more privacy friendly because we ask for your permission. You're not sneakingly commercializing your data without your knowledge. And that transparency, I think, is really important. And it's also really exciting.
Yeah. with all the data on chain, I guess, do spending time in like the DeSci space, I wonder if there's like
Yeah.
interesting like overlap with kind of what you guys are doing in some of these like bio
Yeah.
DAOs and like DeSci projects out there. I don't know. This is just I'm curious if you.
Yeah. So the provenance is on chain. So the fact that the data was generated is on chain, but not the raw data itself. But there have been there have been a few collaborations we haven't announced yet. One that we have announced is with Pump Science. So we're going to be launching a study with them for a new
More.
drug. Yeah, it's gonna be super fun. So they're releasing a new supplement that's supposed to boost HRV and VO2 max, and they're gonna have 500 of their community members test that supplement for 60 days and see the before and after result. And they're all going to be wearing the Pulse wearable to kind of see the progression on their health during that time. So that's gonna be really fun because it's a really practical use where it's furthering DeSci. It's adding value to each user because they're able to see their health data, and then obviously there's a speculation aspect as well, which crypto loves.
Yeah, I'm excited for
Yeah.
that. So beyond like data aggregation and enabling people to own their data, is there anything else that we should be looking out for in the next year or as part of your long-term vision?
Yeah, ruthless focus when it comes to scaling through normal markets. And I talk about this on Twitter a lot, where crypto scaling when it comes to consumer products, if it's not a financialized product, it's very difficult to scale in this industry just because of the way crypto buys in terms of the language. It's more on vibes and how much noise you can make on Twitter. There's a lot less data actually being used when it comes to creating content and scaling as well. So for us, you've already seen us for the last couple of months. We've been way more active on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook to scale Pulse versus Twitter, just because that's where we see the opportunity. So, I like the Blackbird team quite a lot. I think they've done a great job scaling their app all across New York. They're now in SF, they're in LA, they're in Denver. You don't hear about Blackbird on crypto Twitter very much. And I think that's very smart of them because they understand their audience. Crypto might be the technology, but it's not the audience. And that's that overlap. I think a lot of teams have fallen on, and we're making sure we kind of separate that. We're using the technology, we've scaled initially there, but how we actually get to mass market is by going where the rest of the market is, and that's it's not on CT.
Yeah, I agree with that. TikTok is all the alpha. I was curious to learn more about kind of the actual devices yourself. I know you were kind of showing it a bit earlier, but can you tell us a bit more about the hardware and like how you went about kind of sourcing and finding production partners? What is so
Yeah.
special about the hardware that maybe others kind of don't
Mhm.
have? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll bring up the device a little bit closer so you guys can kind of
Yeah.
see. So this is a year and 5 months in the making. That's how long it's taken us to get the hardware done, and countless painful lessons as part of that journey. Whenever I remember speaking to Anatoly about this last year. He's one of our angels, and we told him what we wanted to do, and he just said, "Look, guys, hardware is hard." And you know, I've had like nightmares of that statement almost every day for the last year. Thinking, crap, he really wasn't lying, and I can't imagine what he's gone through with the seeker phone. Um, yeah, in terms of how we did it, the main thing was just you have to get to China. We tried for a few months doing it remotely. Things were just moving so slowly and it was so ineffective. We decided, flip the coin. My co-founder, it landed on heads. So he said, all right, I'm off. See you later. And we had an agreement. He's not allowed to come back to the country until the devices have shipped. So he's finally moving. So he's been in China for a year now, and he's finally coming back at the end of the month once the devices roll around. Yeah, in terms of sourcing, the biggest challenge is just trust is very difficult in China, where you get promised quite a lot from each of the OEMs, and each of them kind of roll out the red carpet for you. They're trying to win a deal, and they promise you the world, and then when you start to go into the details of it, you start to uncover some surprises here and there. So if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know to ask for those surprises because you take everything at face value. If someone says, yeah, I can do wireless charging, you kind of take that as face value as they can do wireless charging. But then there's a lot of caveats to that statement. So that was a strong learning for us where we did trip up on our initial kind of design because of wireless charging and what the OEM was promising us. Another one thing that just really helped and accelerated us was we ended up hiring someone that's done, that's built 100 million plus consumer electronic devices, of which wearables were 1 million plus. So he just knew the market and he had access to the CEOs of all the big wearable manufacturers, the best designers as well. So that solved so many challenges that we had where, I won't lie. One time we went into a meeting, we went into a company and we asked them to meet with their staff to discuss this opportunity. They said, "Oh, maybe we can meet you in 3 months with our little intern." Now with this guy, we came in. They said, "Oh yeah, you want a meeting? Yeah, we can do it tomorrow with our CEO." And it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
We thought, what the heck? What's the difference? And it's because of this guy. Everyone knows him. He's been in Shenzhen for 20 plus years. 100 million, overall consumer electronic units, of which 1 million are wearables. He has that reputation, and he has that network. So we learned that really early on. We needed to, we're not really early on, but halfway through the journey, we realized we need to do that as well.
Yeah, I'm curious. Did you guys go to that computer city in Shenzhen? It's called Huaqiang. It's crazy the amount of manufacturing and electronics that come from that little area and neighborhood there.
Yeah. There's nothing like it on the rest of the planet. There's literally nothing like it.
Every time I go there, it's like they've replicated every single technology and they do it better than the Apple or Samsung itself. It's just honestly insane to me.
Yeah. I'm very, very impressed with what they've got there. And it makes me really appreciate just how advanced the manufacturing kind of sector is there. So, when people do say, "Oh, we want to bring it back to Europe or US," I'm like, "Oh, man, they've got a 20, 30-year head start." Yeah, they've got a 20, 30-year head start. In terms of how it's different, you asked that as well, Winnie. So this is completely custom design on the external. So we've designed this ourselves. We worked with two designers to kind of get this done. They've won countless kind of design awards all across Asia. So yeah, we were really focused around building a device that's premium and durable. So there's a little bit of a metal kind of plate on the front just because it looks nice and it feels nice. We have two straps. One is a fabric strap, which is for day-to-day use, and there's a metal strap, which is more like a dress strap. So you can go on a night out with it. Looks nice, feels premium as well. So very similar to the Apple metal kind of strap, if you've seen that. And that was a very deliberate choice because we know people care about looking good. We know, if you show it off and it looks nice, people are going to ask about it as well. Like when I go to the gym, people ask me, "Hey, that's not a Whoop. What is it?" And it's exactly what I wanted. Every time someone asks me, I think to myself, "Fuck yeah, it was worth paying so much money to get a nice design done."
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I think I've only seen the older version, like the one you're showing now. I haven't seen, so it looks definitely like we've upgraded. I thought the design was good before, but we've reached another level. Cool. I would love to get a sense of where you think the health and wellness market is trending, like trends that you're seeing, the intersection of AI.
Yeah, I'm seeing a big trend around personalization and self kind of I don't want to say self-doctoring, but self-care. So with LLMs, whether it's just ChatGPT or like some of you guys do, which is using Claude, or downloading and exporting data into it, etc. It's allowing us to have a better understanding around our own bodies and have more targeted care. So instead of going on a blog and reading, "Oh, here are 10 ways to improve my sleep," and then one by one testing each one and then getting annoyed and then stopping halfway and then you just don't fix it. Now we can just export our data, share it, get the insights specifically for us, and so improve our health. I see that just going from what is right now quite active, where all of us have to export our data, share it, and ask for answers, to being more passive in the sense of we don't do anything. And what happens instead is, our wearables, mobile apps tell us what's going on and give us guidance and recommendations around how to improve our body. So that's what I see. It's more like a health assistant, an active health assistant, and it allows us to kind of be a little bit more passive in that way. I see that happening. I see a lot of personalization in terms of supplements and care. So some of my friends, they've already started using their blood and DNA. They've already started ordering specific supplements for them. Whether it's I've got a vitamin D deficiency, or I've got issues around bone health, so I should take more calcium instead. So those things, which again, people are actively going out, collecting the data, sharing it, analyzing it, and then solving it. I see that happening a lot more easier. Like one click, boom, you get the insights, you get the results, and you can, you get the kind of supplements move straight to your door. I see that kind of happening as well over the next year. And more proactive care. I'm sure you guys have probably have you guys done like an MRI or blood work in the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. 10 years ago, no one would
Give
do
us
one.
good data. I get it back, but obviously I don't know anything, and unless it's super like glaring or out of the range, that your doctor won't question it. But I would love a more like, I drop it in sometimes into Claude, and I try to better understand, like, for my fitness, for my age, what that really means,
Yeah, exactly. Like I did a longevity test just 2 weeks ago now, and I found out, okay, my bone density is just average. Like it's not good, it's not bad, it's just average for my age. And what was really eye-opening was they then trajected that across 20 years and said, look, this is how it's going to decrease. So if you just improved your bone density over the next year by even 2-3%, that decrease is going to be a lot less impactful for you, and then you're going to age a lot more gracefully. No one, no one was talking about this 20 years ago. So that type of active relationship with our health, I see it just becoming more and more common.
Yeah. Cool. Well, to close this out, let's do a few rapid fire fun question. First of all, are you a Huberman bro?
What was that? Go for it.
Are you a Huberman bro?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, what is your biggest health hack? I always call people with these like health biohacking, like Huberman.
Yeah. Biggest health hack is do whatever it takes to just get a good night's sleep. Simple as that.
Yeah.
If you need,
what that does.
Yeah, like I can't. It's so underrated how impactful sleep is compared to anything else you can do.
Yeah. What is one health trend that you think is overhyped?
I might get canceled for this one. I think it's over. Listening to Huberman and Johnson's overhyped.
Yeah, I was gonna say ice plunges, cold plunges.
Ice.
Yeah,
they're.
Book, podcast, or resource you recommend most for like health optimization?
There are some really good podcasts, and to each is their own. The thing I learned is everyone's on their own health journey. So Huberman makes sense for someone that's early on, but someone that's been figuring out their health over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, Huberman doesn't make sense as much, And I'll this year he just came out and said, "Look, 80% of my routine I've stopped doing it because I realize I'm spending way too much time on it, and it's not giving me like better results." I'm like, "Yeah, man, I could have told you that like 5 years ago. Anyone could have."
It's like 5 hours to do his routine if he does all of it. Cool. Well, it's great to have you on this episode of Digitized Spotlight. Where can listeners find and learn more about Pulse?
Yeah, check us out on pulse.site or on Twitter, which is Pulse No Limits.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming on. That was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, likewise.
Thanks for joining us as we chat with River. It's been interesting to learn more about Pulse's journey over the past year.
Great. It's been awesome to kind of hear the health and wellness trends that he's been seeing, how data can be brought on chain in this new era of wellness and where the market is heading. Follow us as we chat with more founders building at the intersection of consumer and crypto. Bye.
Bye.